Hello everybody, welcome to That's Football. It's demolition job from Arsenal. They were absolutely incredible tonight in a 5-0 win against Chelsea, who, let's be honest, are consistently terrible. I'm sure there'll be calls for Pochettino out. I actually disagree with that. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But let's start off with Arsenal. They're top of the league, obviously by 4 points at the moment. But if Man City win their 2 games in hand, they'll be back top. And I think Man City will still be the favourites. They've been there, they've done that. I mean, I don't want to burst the Arsenal bubble here, but the win ratio of Man City in their final 6 games over the last few years is terrifying. Somebody's got to stop them somewhere if Arsenal or even Liverpool are to win this league. But Arsenal today, the only thing about Arsenal is they'll just rue that home game against Aston Villa because they've been so good the last 2 games. Wolves away was difficult. They got the job done, 2-0. 5-0 against Chelsea. 7 goals scored, no goals conceded. The defence deserves the shout out as much as the attack again. Odegaard, absolute magician. I mean, back doing what he should do as well. I mean, I think the big thing for me from that game today, and I've been talking about it all season, is I don't like Rice, Odegaard and Havertz as the front 3 and then Jesus or Nketiah at front. I don't like it at all. I think Declan Rice has to do all the defensive work. Havertz gets in Odegaard's way. I loved it when they went with Jorginho and Rice. It was a lot better. But now he's gone with Partey and Rice. You really just give Odegaard that, 20-metre square in the number 10 position where he just pulls the strings and runs the game. Havertz won't get in his way because Havertz has got to be the final man as the striker. It just works so well. And Odegaard, like last season, when he is the sole creator, he just dictates the game. And I've mentioned this as a Man United fan. Bruno Fernandes is very different as a number 10, but this is the modern way. Odegaard's sole obsession is to retain the ball, pass, move, magnetic, and then feed to create. And he does it so well. And I know on was it the 3rd goal or the 2nd goal for Havertz, where he threaded it through. I think it was for 3-0 actually. But just before that, he'd slipped Havertz in with an even better pass, and Havertz hit the keeper's legs. So Odegaard was just magnificent today, captain of that team as well. But an absolute magician. Ben White with 2 goals, defended really well. The team defended well. Chelsea weren't. Arsenal were the better team that deserved to win, but Chelsea had a bloody striker. I mean, Jackson's just terrible, isn't he? He's absolutely terrible. But back to Arsenal. They can only do what they're doing. And a lot of people said after Aston Villa, they'll bottle it now, and they haven't. Last season, I think after the bad results in April, they just couldn't get their head up, could they? They got beat by Brighton, if I remember correctly. But at least this season, even if they don't win the league, and they still can, but even if Arsenal don't win the league, it's not the same as last season. There is a next step. There is a progression. They're still defensively solid. They've bounced back from the Villa game with 2 wins. They're still... That wouldn't have happened last year. That didn't happen last year. So the progression year on year with Arsenal is a massive positive for an outsider to look at. It won't be a massive positive for Arsenal fans if they don't win the title, but over the summer, if you don't win the title, you can look back on a year where you have made that next step. And I think over the summer, Partey will probably go, and if they bring a midfielder in like that, that will be the next step. A striker, that will be the next step. But they can still win the league. Man City are the juggernaut of the Premier League. We all know that, and they probably will win every single game. And if they do, that's why for me the Premier League is a little bit dull, because six titles out of the last 7 is just ridiculous. And it's not really a title race when you know that one team is so good they can just turn it on and win 10 games in a row. That's not a title race. It's boring. It's not Man City's fault in the sense, well, it might be their fault with the 1-1-5, but what I'm saying is they're just too dominant. But in any other season, it would be an amazing title race between Arsenal and Liverpool. Of course it would. But Arsenal have done a great job tonight, and they responded really well to the Champions League disappointment. That's a test of character. That's a mental strength. And obviously they go into another massive game on Sunday, and they've got some tough games, Arsenal. And Sunday in the North London derby, that's the one for me. If they win that game, then I think they'll look at their rest of the games. All right, they've got to go to Old Trafford, but I think they'd look at Man United at the moment. They fancy their chances and they'd be confident, and they know that they'll be able to attack. Whereas the Spurs game, that will be a North London derby, and they'll be like, that anything can happen in that. So that's Arsenal's next focus now. As for Chelsea, well, I was looking at the league table thinking Chelsea out the cup now. They've got to try and get in Europe in some way, shape or form. Otherwise, it's another year out of Europe, which if you said to me 2 years ago, Chelsea were going to have 2 years out of Europe after spending £1 billion, I'd have laughed. But that's the harsh reality Chelsea face at the moment. Now, obviously, no Cole Palmer makes a big difference to them. He wouldn't have changed that today. Cole Palmer's not going to make Chelsea beat Arsenal. That's not going to make any difference. Their next game is Villa away. And then they've got, I think, Spurs at home. So they've got 2 really difficult games. And if they don't find anything out of that, I think they'll find themselves adrift of maybe Newcastle and Man United. So they'll be looking at another year outside of Europe. So Chelsea, every time you think Chelsea are turning a corner, they go the wrong way again. And today, there are elements of Chelsea that are okay. I think Enzo Fernandez is okay. I think Conor Gallagher's okay. But with no Cole Palmer, I think they missed Gusto as well. The young lad at right back, you know, he's still learning his game. And I think he made a couple of mistakes, but you're going to forgive him for that because he's a young guy. But Nicholas Jackson up front. I mean, I almost think there's an experiment as to how, well, one, how crap he is. I mean, the 2 misses today are just dreadful. How you hit the side netting when the whole side of the goal is there in front of you, and how you head a ball but put your hand up and close your eyes is just incredible. I mean, is this the one from Villarreal, or have they actually been scammed? I mean, have Villarreal still got someone called Nicholas Jackson, and they've got a different Nicholas Jackson? Because he's so bad in front of goal. It's unbelievable. And I know confidence is a thing, but he just doesn't look like a striker to me. It doesn't look like he's going to become good. So I think with Chelsea, the experiment I would be interested is if you stuck an Ivan Toney up front or a Solanke up front, where would Chelsea be in the league and where would they be in the cups? Because he missed big chances in the Man City game as well. So Chelsea desperately need a striker. Spending £1 billion and not buying a striker is stupidity. And whilst Todd Boehly has his heart in the right place, his brain's in the wrong place, because that was just incredible. All the money they've spent on defenders and midfielders, and to not buy the most important thing in football, which is the guy who will put the ball in the back of the net, is just mindless idiocy. And that's cost Chelsea. And as much as people banter Chelsea and laugh at Chelsea, they still do miss a lot of chances because they haven't got a striker. And that was the same under Potter as well. So that is something that Chelsea have to solve. Would I sack Pochettino? What I would say is the amount of pressure Ten Hag gets is incredible compared to Pochettino. And that's just because Pochettino's worked with the media in the past and they like him. He should be under pressure. Losing to Arsenal 5-0, you can't just go, oh, it's just another bad result. That's embarrassing. Like, Arsenal are a big rival of Chelsea. It's a London derby. They've been absolutely humiliated. And you can't keep doing that. Like, every club has to say at some point, oh, right, your job, I know the job's hard, but there is a line you cross. I personally wouldn't sack Pochettino, because where do you go? Someone like Mourinho would be a massive mistake. So I think they've got to stick with Pochettino, and he's got to make big strides in the summer, because if they hit next season the same, he'll be gone, and quite rightly so. But I don't think Pochettino should be gone in the summer. But I'm not a Chelsea fan. Chelsea fans will decide on Potter, and they might decide on Pochettino. He'll help his case if they can somehow get European football. Now, I don't want to say Conference League, because no one wants that, but it might just have to be that, because I don't think, looking at the fixtures, I think Newcastle are favourite for 6th, which means they're fighting 7th with United for a Conference League spot, which is terrifying for Chelsea and terrifying for Manchester United as well. Anyway, get your comments in below. Can Arsenal win this league? How impressed have you been with Arsenal and Odegaard, especially tonight, in bouncing back from the issues? And what about Chelsea? What would you do about Chelsea? What's your opinion on that? Get your comments in below, smash a like on the video, and I'll speak to you on the next one.